my main issue obviously is alcohol. That's my drug of choice. And it is the thing that destroyed me the most, like spiritually, mentally, physically, everything. It took me to the lowest bottoms.
We have Savannah here. Savannah, thank you so much for coming out here today. I am fascinated by your story. I feel like it's very important to share with people, you know, what addiction is, the ins, the outs, where it starts, you know. I mean, there's just so much, and you've been through so much, and you're so young. So I'm just really, I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
I know that your journey has been long and hard, and I could only imagine. So Savannah, you're from Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, I'm from Dayton, Ohio.
And you came out to LA when you were?
I'll say 18.
18?
Freshly 18, yeah.
What made you go to LA?
Honestly, like I never felt like I was cut out for Ohio lifestyle. Like it was very slow, and like everybody wanted to get married to their high school sweethearts, and they wanted to have babies and like picket fence, you know, and I kind of just wanted to be crazy and wild. And I didn't know anything about LA. I hadn't met anybody here. And I just thought, okay, I'm just going to get on a plane, go to LA, see what happens. And yeah, that's pretty much just, I'm just crazy since. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it like on, you know, social media? Like, were you seeing LA? Do we have social media then? Yeah. About 2 years ago?
We did.
Is that what sparked your interest, or watching movies and just seeing the whole Hollywood lifestyle?
I used to watch like The Girls Next Door when I was a little girl. Like, I love like obviously like this was when I was like younger. And I saw like, you know, the partying and like the bleach blonde girls and like Cali girls, you know, and I wanted to kind of like, I just want to live a better lifestyle. I had a really bad childhood, and I just wanted to live like a really fun like lifestyle and not, you know, have any responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your childhood? It
was really bad. I don't really talk about it too much because I kind of buried it, but a lot of abuse, like physical, verbal abuse. They were addicts themselves. They were addicted to mainly alcohol, but they would smoke crack and meth as well. So there were a lot of like beatings, things like that.
From your parents or?
No, my stepdad and my mom. Sorry. Oh. That's a big, I have to clarify that. No, my dad, he's an angel. He's like my best friend. But yeah, it was very bad. It was bad.
Did you mainly grow up with your mom, or were you back and forth between your mom and dad?
So my dad tried to get custody of me. And the courts like always favor the woman. So I didn't get to go live with my dad until she finally caved when I was 16 years old. And I went to go live with my dad. And it was, my only regret was like, why didn't I do this sooner? Because my home life was just terrible. Like,
yeah. Did he know? Did he have any idea of what you were going through as a kid?
He did. And he tried really, really hard, like to get me. And he would like beg me. And like, there were even times where he was like, you know, screw the courts, like just come and we'll figure it out, you know, because the stuff that I went through was really, really, really dark. And once he heard about it, he was like, I don't even care, just get here. But you know, when you're a kid, like I had friends, I'd kind of built a life, you know what I mean? I know it sounds silly now, but like,
we don't know any different.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, now looking back, I'm like, I could have gotten them locked up. Like, I could have gotten them sent to prison. Like, but, you know, hindsight, whatever.
All right. Do you have a relationship with your mom now? No.
Oh, no. No, I exposed her a little bit, very briefly. I didn't expose, like, much of her. And she tried to sue me. And I was like, how are you going to sue your kid for beating your own kid? Like, what? So she's delusional. She's still an addict. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So I just don't talk to her.
Yeah. Well, for your sake, you know. So when you moved out here, did your addiction start out in California, or was it already started prior?
So I know this sounds crazy, and a lot of people, they don't believe me, but this is like literally what happened. I didn't drink all through high school, didn't take a drink, like never had any interest in it because obviously I saw how my stepdad and my mom acted, and it just wasn't in my brain to do that. But my senior year, I had my first drink of vodka, and I felt like it was the best thing. To me, it was the best feeling I'd ever felt. Mm-hmm. And so my first time drinking, I drank an entire bottle of vodka. And it was warm out of the bottle. Like, I didn't want chasers. I don't do chasers. I'm like, even if I mix it with orange juice, or if I don't, it's going to taste like shit. So, like, we're not drinking for the flavor. We're drinking to get annihilated and smashed. And from that point on, I don't recall a time I ever drank normally or like anything like that. So I was already I was pretty much an alcoholic. Like, when I
first tried it.
Yeah. But when I came to LA, it was just the alcohol at first. And that's how it started. And I just drank a ton, and I wasn't educated on alcohol. So I didn't realize like how insidious it could be. And I thought it was innocent. I really did. I thought that what I was doing was innocent. I didn't know it was going to turn into something as beastly as it did. So,
How did you survive moving out here so young? I mean, was your dad supportive of it? Did he get you a place? Did you just come out and figure it out?
I came out and I started dancing. So I came out, well, actually, the first thing this is crazy. This is just crazy. So I met a guy at the airport. And he was like, hey, do you want to go to dinner? I told him I was bulimic, and I told him that it was pointless to take me to dinner. And he said that he liked that. And I was like, okay. I was like, that's weird, but whatever. So I kind of stayed with that guy for like a week and a half. Didn't work out. And then I had to go to a motel. So I went to a motel, and then down the street, I saw some pink lights, and I just walked down there and got a job at the strip club. And I started making money there. And then I met these two girls out, and one of them actually I knew from Ohio. And I was like, okay. And then her and her roommate, they were saying they couldn't pay their rent, blah, 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 They were older than me. And I started just living with them.
And that's when
I was dancing, making money doing that. And then later on, I got into like high-end escorting.
Yeah.
Later on.
And is that when the drug use started?
I would say, yeah, but I can't really tell you exactly when the drug use started, like, or what caused it. I think it was the alcohol was immediate. Like, I was always an alcoholic, but like the other things, like, they kind of came gradually and randomly,
And now being sober, like, looking back on it, how does it make you feel? Like, just curious, like, did it ever, even when you were escorting and dancing and stuff, did it make you feel good, or did you not like that way of living?
So when I first started, like, dancing, escorting, all that, I liked it. I thought it was fun. But also I was drunk all the time, so it's hard to tell. But at that time, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was normal. I was making a lot of money, so I felt like that justified any kind of thing that I had. And I didn't really have any, like, bad experiences with escorting. I had people who were annoying and things like that, but, like, I didn't, like, have any trauma really from escorting and dancing and stuff like that. But I couldn't do that now. Like, you know what I mean? At this age, like, I'm 28. Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around doing that stuff now. And I think it's probably because I'm sober. But but no, it never bothered me. I was okay with it.
And that's just crazy. I mean, were you scared the first time?
No.
Not at all.
I mean, I came to LA with no money and no plan, and I just feel like at that age, I just didn't give a damn about anything. Like, like, nothing scared me. Nothing. Like, I could be in the most dangerous situation and be so chill and calm and, like, collected. So.
And it's crazy, right? Because I feel that a lot of, I want to say, like, addicts, like, they kind of have that mentality, like, not a lot of fear in comfort zone,
just completely unhinged, just like, just raw dogging life, literally. Like, that's how I lived. I lived crazy every single day. Every single day of my life was a cocktail of, like, my main issue obviously is alcohol. That's my drug of choice. And it is the thing that destroyed me the most, like spiritually, mentally, physically, everything. It took me to the lowest bottoms. But I guess like to other people, I'd be a poly addict because I would do, I would do everything. So my nights and I thought it was normal. I literally didn't know I had a problem until like life like smacked me in my face. I didn't know I had a problem.
So did you think that drinking and doing drugs was just kind of like...
I thought that a normal night for me, like a normal Tuesday would be like drinking at least a bottle of vodka, like at least bare minimum, if not more. And then whatever other drugs, whoever I was around, like definitely cocaine. I didn't really like cocaine, but like I would just snort it because I felt, I don't know why I did these things. But anyways, yeah, GHB, do that. So this was like normal, like things that I was doing on a daily basis. Excuse me. GHB, cocaine, a lot of alcohol, Xanax, sometimes if it was around. What else? That was like my normal stuff that I would do. Whippets, lots of whippets, lots of whippets, things like that. And so that'd be like a normal day, and I lived my life like that, and I would always be in a mess. Like I'd always come out like of my bender like barefoot and like all deranged and like disheveled, and I would just go home and I'd be like, oh, I just need more alcohol and I'll be fine. Like, I'm coming down, like I need some wine or whatever the like, and that was my answer to everything. So if I felt like shit after a bender, I would just be like, dude, just go get a drink. Like, it's fine.
Right. And because you're out here and you kind of just started living with other girls that were living the same lifestyle, really there was no like personal support, Did your dad, since you're close with him, know what was going on?
My dad tried so hard, but the thing is, I was 18. I was like, he didn't have control anymore, and he kind of knew that. But I would tell my dad, because he is my best friend, so I've always told him everything. And he would like call me all the time. He would like, you need to come home. Like, you need to come home. Like, come home. But when you're like a teenager in the middle of addiction, you're having the time of your life, you don't want to listen to your dad and go home to Ohio. Right. So he knew. And then it got to the point where I wouldn't answer his phone calls. I wouldn't answer at all. And he would get really, really upset over that. So wouldn't answer his phone calls because I was on shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, he knew.
Did he ever fly out to look for you or hunt you down? I feel like that's something. He didn't
know where I was.
As a parent, I would be like missing person report,
The thing is like I knew he would try to do that. So like that's why I stopped answering his calls, because I'm like, he's not just going to come to LA not knowing where I am. Like,
right. You
know what I mean? And like, it was to that point because like my first time like doing heroin, and I mixed it with crystal meth. And this was random. This was like very random. And I had never done either one. So I got really sick because I smoked too much heroin. So I was like vomiting. And I don't know why. Like, this is so selfish. Like, oh my God. I called my dad and I was puking and I told him what I had done. And he's like, damn, he's like, you stress me out. He's like, you're thousands of miles away. Like, what do you want me to do? I've offered you to come home millions of times. I don't know where the you're at. And, you just leave me completely hanging. You leave me in the dark, basically. And so after that, like, that's when I kind of stopped contacting my dad, because I was just like, there was no good news. There was no good news ever. It was always bad. And I was just kind of ashamed, of my lifestyle. Yeah.
Do you feel like your childhood trauma kind of led you to the personality of not really giving a shit and just being, willing to do whatever, try whatever? Do you feel part of its personality?
So I think about this a lot. And I feel like in my addiction and like all these things that I've done, like I'm not the victim here. I don't think I'm the victim, but I do think that my childhood, how like sadistic that it was, I do think that it molded my brain a type of way. But I don't blame my childhood for my actions, if that makes sense. So,
it does. Yeah. It does. I mean, and I feel like people, we all have some sort of underlying trauma, right? They call it big T, little t, like how severe trauma is and has a lot to do with it. But, you know, I'm with you on that. I mean, your actions are your actions. It's how I live.
And I knew what I was doing. It's like I feel like most of my trauma was caused by me, you know, so I'm not the victim here. And that's another reason I don't talk about my childhood that much, because one, I don't like pity, and two, I don't really think it's not the cause of my actions, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we've all lived hard lives, you know, we've all had trauma, we've all had things, that's life, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I don't blame that, but it probably definitely molded my brain a type of way to behave a certain way,
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense, you know, because we are responsible, and I think that you find recovery too when you're able to accept responsibility for your own actions. I feel like a lot of individuals who are, you know, going through the motions of trying to get sober, where they victimize themselves, like, you know, and it's everybody else's fault. It's not their fault. But the second you can take responsibility of, I'm here in this situation because I was the same way. I never blamed my family or my mom. I always is like, this is me, and I want to fix me.
You were like consciously aware. You're very. Like, you were so that that makes addiction even worse, in my opinion. Like, because you know, like I knew like every time I would go to use or abuse. Well, I call it abuse because I never just lightly partied. I mean, I just binged on everything. Like it was just hardcore and it was quick. And But yeah, every time I did that, every time I would go to do drugs or whatever, I would have like a dark feeling come over me. I knew what the I was doing. I knew what I was doing. So it made me feel even worse, like, because I'm like, I was so aware, you know?
Did you ever, I mean, you knew you were an addict at some point. You know, you said it was fun at first, but like at what point did you start getting tired with it to where you were?
Oh man, 21. I'm 28 now. So you would think like when I didn't know, I mean, I knew like I was an alcoholic. I knew like, but the people that I was hanging out with, they were all doing drugs too. And they were all, you know, it was like a normal everyday life. Like people would wake up at 7, or not even wake up. They just wouldn't go to sleep. And then we'd be up at 7 a.m. doing lines of cocaine or Molly and drinking on a balcony, you know what I mean? Or whatever. And so that was just like the lifestyle that I was in. And that's all that I knew. And I didn't really think like anything was wrong until I woke up in a different state. And I woke up in Chicago. I looked around the room. I don't remember getting there.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how they let me on a plane. How did I get through like the baggage? I don't understand how I did that. Because I swear to you, I have no recollection of that.
Wow.
And people want to.
And that's not just a state over. That's across the country.
Why Chicago? It was just it was weird, and I was alone, and I didn't know I was in Chicago. I woke up thinking like, oh, I must have done something crazy. Someone must have kicked me out of their house or something. Like, and I had probably got a hotel. But my first thought when I woke up in Chicago, and there were big empty bottles of alcohol spread out all over the room, in the hotel room.
Oh my gosh.
My first thought was, I need alcohol. I need to drink. Like, this is crazy. This is too much for me. I need to go have a drink. Like, that was my mentality. And this Chicago trip is what made me realize I had a problem. But I still didn't think I had a problem seeing all the alcohol bottles. And then I went downstairs, and the front desk lady, she's like, do you know where you are? And I'm like, I don't know this hotel name, but she's like, you're in Chicago. And I was like, oh, shit, you know, and so I still didn't think I had a problem.
Wow.
Even after that. But I slowed down my drinking that day. And at this point, I was drinking so much alcohol. I mean, at least a handle. And of just straight liquor. I never chased it with anything. I mean, I was just hardcore with it. And I had stopped drinking for a couple hours. And I started getting DTs. But I did not have any idea what DTs were. So I started having mild hallucinations, and I had never hallucinated in my life. And I was like, whoa, did someone drug me? Like, I had no idea what was going on. The hallucinations led to a 6-day full-blown psychosis. The doctors didn't know I was in DTs because I didn't know I was in DTs. So I couldn't tell them, like, I'm in DTs. They just thought I was schizophrenic and crazy. So they sent me to the psych ward, and I hallucinated, like, the Grim Reaper. I hallucinated demons, like, you know, like, that's what alcohol withdrawal does to people. It's crazy. I didn't know you could go through I didn't know that you could possibly die from quitting drinking. That's like absurd to me. So,
right. Did you ever have a seizure?
I did have oh my gosh, yes, I did. So I was, the irony of that is I was going to buy a bottle because my body, I felt like, I don't know, like in my arms, I felt like electric kind of shock, jolty stuff. And I didn't know I didn't know what it was. I was just like, I just feel uncomfortable. I felt like impending doom, which is like common if you're withdrawing from anything. But I went to go buy a bottle, and on my way out, I don't remember anything. It was CVS. The doors were opening, and that's all I remember. And then I woke up, and there was a pool of blood, and there were like 4 ambulance guys, and they were picking me up. I literally had a seizure, cracked my head open. My hair was matted in blood. And then they took me back to the hospital, and then the hospital, finally, they couldn't do anything for me because I was just losing my mind. And they just sent me to the psych ward because they didn't really know what was going on. Then in the psych ward, the insanity of DTs is crazy. I feel like a lot of people don't know what it is, but it does make you hallucinate. It makes you just completely lose your mind. And I was seeing demons, and they were telling me to knock my teeth out. And so I chipped out my 4 front teeth on the sink.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm waking up in a loony bin. I just went through a 6-day psychosis, like just crazy shit. And a lot of things in the psychosis were fake. And so I woke up and I was like, okay, like that was fake. That was fake. The teeth thing, that wasn't fake. I woke up and they weren't like, I didn't like rip them out, but I chipped them out. Like my 4 front teeth were chipped out. I was like, what the I was just so, at this point, like exhausted and confused and deranged. And that's when I realized I had a problem after that. But the problem with that, the thing about that is straight out of the psych ward, guess what I did? I went to go buy a bottle. I mean, that's the insanity. I mean, it is so, I can't even explain it. You know, I do think addiction is the definition of insanity because it's like doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And like, you think something's going to change. After all that, I went and bought a bottle.
Right.
Yeah.
That's your coping mechanism, though. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know how to do anything other than that. You make your life worse by, like, when you're, like, using, you make your life so much worse. And then you come to, and it's so bad that you just feel like you're going to, like, explode. And you can't deal with your own reality that you created. Like, you know what I mean? You can't deal with it. So you just feel like you have to use or you're going to die. That's how I felt. And at that point, did you feel like it would be a time to reach out to your dad and say, like, I need help? Did you ever do that?
I went home.
You did go home?
I went home. I went home for 2 weeks. And it was really nice to spend time with my dad. I went home for 2 weeks. But after that, after 2 weeks had passed by, I was really bored. And I felt like I could still touch the fire. You know what I mean? And I went to Vegas, and I went from Ohio to Vegas, and in Vegas, I almost got sent to jail, but they realized like I was just up, and so they sent me to the hospital. I lost my ID. I couldn't fly back. So I threw a huge tantrum, and I was really drunk. Threw a huge tantrum at the airport, and they were like, the lady wanted me to go to jail, but she's like, it's either hospital or jail. And I was like, I guess I'll go to the hospital, whatever. And so, like, I was always in the hospital. The hospital, Cedars-Sinai knows who I am. That's sad. That's really sad. They literally know me. Like, when I go in there, they know the deal. But, so, yeah, I basically, long story short, the Vegas thing, I paid a Lyft driver to... I was like, hey, do you want to make $500? Like, I'm like, this is like really big thing to ask. I'm like, but can you please take me back to LA? I have no way home. I'm like stranded out here. And all my stuff was in his car in the trunk. I'm like, look, I have a lot of designer things back there. Like, you can literally lock the trunk. Like, you can take everything away from me. Like, if I don't pay you, I will pay you as soon as we get back. And I did, and it all worked out. But
so he drove you all the way from there?
I had no choice. I just called a Lyft. I was like, all right, once he comes, I'm just going to ask him if he could just, take me back. And he did. And then he ended up drinking with my roommate when he got back there. Yeah.
So how old were you when you went to the psych hospital and that happened?
I was 21.
Oh, wow. So you still had a long run after that, years.
I actually got into worse stuff after that. I was doing the GHB, I was doing the cocaine, the pills, all of that kind of stuff. And I considered that stuff normal. I did, like the Molly, all of that. Like, I was like, this is just normal stuff, it's not like I'm slamming. Around 2017, that's when I started doing everything. Because I hated my life so much. I did not care. I had no lust for life. I didn't like anything about my life. I hated my life. I hated myself. And I just felt like an empty shell of a human, or like a zombie, or like a demon. Like, I was on demon. I mean, I really was acting like a demon, and I didn't feel like I deserved anything. I mean, it was just like my self-worth was so low. So I started doing everything. And then I remember my first time shooting up, I didn't shoot it. Somebody else did it for me. I was with these two guys who like shot heroin. But the thing is like, they were immune to the heroin, so they had fentanyl, and I overdosed. I don't remember it. And then I started smoking meth regularly, and fentanyl too. I didn't have a long run with fentanyl, but it was a short-lived phase. But I did have a little run with fentanyl as well.
And when you did that, did you stop using or stop drinking alcohol and go to opiates, or were you doing both?
I was doing both.
Wow. Because a lot of times opiate addicts...
I shouldn't be alive. Yeah. It's really weird to me. I don't... And honestly, like, there were many times where, like, I would be really, really up in my breathing. The feeling when you do the opiates and your breathing's really shallow. I hated my life so much. I would kind of, like, I am scared to die. I am scared to die. But in those moments, like, part of me was hoping, like, I would pass away in my sleep because I just didn't want to wake up to another reality. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like...
Well, it's just such a repetitive... It is miserable.
I can't... I mean, that's the best way I could explain it. It's just absolutely just a dark, miserable, ugly place. And it's like you feel stuck. And I felt like I was a slave to these substances that I didn't even like. And this went on for so long. I mean, I'm only like, my sober date's October 1st. So I don't know how long. I don't pay attention to the dates. But so, going back, like, looking at that, I'm like, how I don't understand how I live like that, and how I thought that was normal.
What was your turning point? Like, what happened? Having so many moments that should have been the wake up call, should have been like, okay, I need help. Okay, I need to get sober. Like, what changed to where you are now?
So I've had so many rock bottom moments. It wasn't this time, like, it wasn't how I felt, or it wasn't like what happened to me, or it wasn't like some big, like, thing. I had died before. That wasn't enough for me. They had to double Narcan me. I was clinically dead. That wasn't even enough for me. I went 4 days later and went and bought a bottle. I mean, so the last time it is a little bit funny, but it's not funny, but in hindsight, it's funny. Like, I can have a laugh, you know?
We have to with our stories.
That's what I'm saying. Like, people are like, what, like, you know.
How do you laugh? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what else am I going to do? Like, I'm not the victim here, first of all.
Like, we did the dumb
I did it to myself.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I did the to myself. Like, but anyway, where was I?
What was your turning point?
Okay, so, yeah, it wasn't the incident. It was my mental state, and it was how I felt. Mm-hmm. So I felt at this point completely desensitized. I felt like I had nothing inside of me. And I always felt like that, but it was really intense. I felt like I had nothing left inside of me, like no soul, like nothing. Mm-hmm. And I had felt like that before, but this time it was just different. And I also thought to myself, like, you know, I'm 28 years old. If I keep doing this, first of all, I'm not even going to live, mm-hmm. you know? And second of all, like, I don't want to be 30 years old and hate myself even more and get into my 30s and you know what I mean? And I really said, I was like, because the thing about it is like, I did do a lot of other drugs, but alcohol is my drug. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I don't want to do other drugs other than alcohol. I don't, truthfully. It's only when I drink, like, then I don't think about other drugs. I don't want them. I've had bad experiences doing other drugs without the alcohol. Mm-hmm. So if you remove alcohol from the equation, I'm good. Right. So I was like, okay, if you're serious about this, like, get on Antabuse. Mm-hmm. Because if you drink on that, there's no point. You can't get drunk. Right. Your body will your body will reject the alcohol completely, mm-hmm. and even if it's just a small amount. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to be able to get drunk. You're going to have to take a trip to the hospital. Your heart rate's going to speed up. You're going to break out. So I take that pill every day, and there's no side effects to it. You know. So you just started taking that mm-hmm. October 1st, and that's been. Well, I got it October 3rd or something, but yes. And you've been sober since. Yeah. That's amazing. Did you go through withdrawals again? The withdrawals are the worst part, and I think that's why I stayed an alcoholic for so long, mm-hmm. because the withdrawal, it is unbearable, and there's really not, there's not a whole lot you can do for alcohol withdrawal. They can give you Ativan and stuff, but you're still seeing things, you're hearing things, and it's a terrifying experience, the alcohol withdrawal. I think it's worse than heroin withdrawal personally, but because I've been through both, but I would agree. I think that, and this is why it's so important to share your story too, is that a lot of people do not realize how serious alcohol withdrawals are, and we see it often. I see people who've never touched a drug in their life and come in as alcoholics in severe psychosis and hallucinations because of their withdrawals. Yeah. And it's really hard because it's a really gray area, especially for like treatment facilities and people who are in psychosis due to alcohol, where they're a danger to others and themselves, but then law enforcement or hospitals, don't feel like there's much that they can do because they're not saying, I want to kill myself or I want to kill somebody else. It's simply just hallucinating, and I'm seeing this and I'm seeing that. And they just think you're a crazy, like, loser. Right. And there's nothing now. It doesn't fall under the policies and procedures that they have of being able to 5150 somebody, where I feel like at that stage they need to be for at least a few days to get through that point to then they can be stabilized on medications, Yeah. So you never went to a program, a detox facility? I never went to a detox because, like I said, if I can leave the loony bin, I apologize. A lot of people don't like that word. I don't know why. They get offended by it. But anyways, if I could leave the psych ward it's your experience, right? And if that's how you want to call it, or you're the one that's been there, So after that, like, if I can die, literally die, mm-hmm. and then a couple of days later, just, go to CVS and get a bottle and pop pills. After, like, days after that, I didn't know if rehab would work for me. And plus, like, it's very, very hard to get into rehab in LA. Very, very hard. And with rehab, it's like you have to put your life on hold. Like, there were a lot of things going through my head. It's a very and honestly, the thought of rehab terrifies me because sleeping in a different bed, you're with random people. And I know a lot of people might look down on that and be like, oh, she didn't go to rehab, she's doomed. But I'm telling you, like, and abuse is for people like me. I've heard so many success stories, people who have been into treatment millions of times and they couldn't stop drinking. And the thing about the drinking is, like, I don't want to do any drugs other than alcohol. But if you give me one cocktail, one shot, I'm like, okay, let's go smoke some meth. Let's do this. Let's do that. That's how much it twists my brain. So taking the antabuse is a commitment. It's a very easy commitment. You just take a pill every day. And if it weren't for antabuse, I would not be sober. Yeah. That's the truth.
Well, and what I love is to hear different stories and different ways of getting sober. You know, I mean, I completely just, give you so much credit because I couldn't do it. Like, I had to go to a program. Like, there's no way I would have been able. I tried so many times to kick on my own and have the mental willpower not to do something, and so
it's killing you, it's doing all these things, and
I didn't care. I got to a point like you were saying.
I don't think it's that you don't care though. We do care. We do. We're desperate. It's like I remember being in a moment, like, there were so many moments in my life where I was just in complete fear and just helplessness, darkness, desperation, and I hated I hated these substances. I hated them.
Right.
So it's not that you didn't. I don't think it's that you didn't care. I think
your mind's so altered, and you are so physically, mentally dependent on it.
Dependent, yeah.
That's the problem, and it is. I mean, there was many times that it was like, just take me or stop or take me, because I can't keep
miserable
living this way every single day.
It's like
it
was kill me or
but I was
something.
Same. I was terrified to die. I wasn't suicidal. I couldn't imagine the process, but if I just didn't wake up, I'd be okay, because I didn't want to have to wake up another miserable day.
Another miserable day of, getting your next fix. Like,
right.
When you get to that point where you're just living for the next fix, like, that's when it's just horrible. That's not a life.
Right. And the lying, manipulation, everything that comes along with it. There's nothing happy about any of the process.
It's horrible. And it gets to the point you don't even enjoy the high anymore.
You're just doing it to stay well.
You're doing it to stay barely afloat. And that's what I hated. Right. It was a horrible feeling. And then people around you who care about you, like, they're judging you. Not judging you, but you could feel the energy, even when you're getting sober. Even when you're getting sober, people don't trust you. People don't trust you. I mean, I'm not trusted, and I don't blame anybody, because I've lied to people a lot. I've lied to people a lot. I've been like, oh yeah, I'm sober, like, and I wasn't. I could never go sober for more than like a month.
Do you find it hard to stay sober in the environment that you're in?
No. I actually was living in a really ghetto building, like, when I got sober, and all the people below me, like, they smoked meth, they drank, they always had bottles, they were, it was a really ghetto building, and I was like, you know what, I need to move out. And so I'm not even kidding, immediately I moved out, and I actually got a really nice house, really good environment. I'm not in the trenches of Hollywood anymore. I'm like in the Larchmont area, so I'm still kind of Hollywood, but there's no, like, street people, and I don't have a problem with the street people. It's just they caused me problems, but I'm away from that, and so I don't think about drinking. Once a month I do, and I'll tell you, it's before my menstrual cycle.
Interesting.
But like I said, antabuse takes it off the table. I'm not going to test that. I've heard Reddit stories that are so bad, like people who tried to drink on antabuse.
Yep, it's not worth it.
Oh my God, why would you even try? Why would you even try? I'm scared. I'm terrified. I don't like my heart racing. Yeah. Like, so, and that's like one of the main symptoms. So I'm like, I would never.
Well, and it's where it takes you to. So
you're just going to go to the hospital. It's just going to take you to the hospital.
Well, and back to the whole everything you've gone through. So it's not worth it when right now, if you're good, you know. Have you had to change your whole lifestyle, or do you feel like overall your life's pretty much the same? You've just taken the substances away.
You know, what's crazy is that I did cut a lot of people out, of course. Not that I hate them or that they did me dirty or anything like that. I just cut them out. 'Cause it's like, what did we share other than drugs, you know? But I still go out. I still do everything I did. And what I learned is that I am more vibrant sober. I'm more talkative sober. I make more connections sober. I attract better people into my life sober. Like I have so much fun out and about sober. I never thought I could do that. I always thought, oh, I'm shy. Like I can't handle like life and like and humans and, you know, all these things, you know. Especially like, well, when you reintegrate kind of like back into the world as a sober person, you feel like a newborn baby. Right. You feel like a newborn baby. Like you feel helpless. You're like, oh my God. Like I like simple little things like doing my laundry. Like I would like cry. I'm not even joking. Sometimes I would cry. Like I'd be like, oh my God, life is just so frustrating because I'm not in this, like, I'm not in the clouds anymore. Right. So I'm getting used to it, though. I'm getting used to it. So what I did was I kind of forced myself to go out in environments because alcohol's everywhere. Right. And it's going to be everywhere. It's not going anywhere. Right. Exactly. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't go there because people drink. I can't go there. Like, I'm not going to do that. Right. So force myself to go in these environments. And honestly, it's not that hard. Yeah. It's not as hard as I thought it was. And I have a lot more fun. Good. I'm glad. What goals do you have moving forward now that you are sober? It's hard to think about. It's hard to think about that. I don't know. I really don't know. Just taking it day by day? Taking it day by day, yeah. I do work out every day. That's good. Eat very healthy. I do like take vitamins and all that. I got a bike. Oh, that's good. I got a pink bike and I ride it all around town. And I like hiking and stuff. And as of now, I only have one friend. So it's kind of, you know, I kind of do everything alone, you know. Yeah. But like I said, I had to cut a lot of people out. So, of course. Well, I mean, right now you're on the right path and taking it day by day. And I'm sure the long-term goals will come. But for now, I mean, the sobriety is first thing and priority, and you're doing it. So I'm proud of you. Thank you for that. Well, Savannah, thank you so much for coming here today, and I'm really proud of you.